Okay, everyone, as always on Remember 64, it's time to, of course, finally talk about the game itself. Yes, we are going to be talking about Paper Mario on the N64. Jiggy is back with me for this episode. Jiggy, how are you,
I'm
man?
here. I'm here. I'm here. What's up?
Just folding a little paper, just saving the day throughout the Mushroom Kingdom made of paper.
The huge.
That old chestnut, yeah. But the best part about the episode this time around is that we have a third person. We have another person on the podcast with us. Jake Martin is here. Jake from Retrospect and Retro Dodo. Hello. How are you?
Howdy, folks. Hey, man. So excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Of
I
course.
am I am just so I've been waiting. I've been waiting months, at least over a month, to talk about Paper Mario and N64. And it's finally happening. It's all come to this moment, and I am so excited and so thankful to be here.
Amazing. Well,
Let
thanks for being here. Yeah, go ahead, Jiggy. Yeah.
I gotta say, even though you've been waiting for months, there has never been a more perfect time to talk about Paper Mario with that last Nintendo Direct.
Yes,
The
sir.
timing is impeccable.
It's
Yeah,
in
I
the
mean,
air, man.
yeah, there's something about it. Right? People just need their paper.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I should have more
Gotta get
like
that paper.
puns or something set up, and I just don't have any. I'm just terrible. But yeah, no, I asked you, whenever we bring people on the show, I'm just I want to ask what people want to play. I want to ask what they want to talk about and stuff. And this was what you suggested, and I was like, heck yeah. I will talk about it, but I hadn't played this game until now, so I am my first timer with Paper Mario, which is very interesting. So,
Oh my
before
goodness.
before we get into the game itself, Jake, let's talk a little bit about yourself, about the work that you do out there. Let everybody know what you're up to.
Yeah, so I have been a lifelong gamer. And in 2015, 2016, I decided to start up just my own little website where I would just write about stuff. And then podcasts quickly started becoming a thing that a lot of people were doing. And I was like, I think I could do this. And my friends and I were always talking about podcasts and video games and stuff like that. So I was like, let's just bring these two ideas together. And so we started a side podcast from that website on BitBlogus where we would just talk about stuff like every week, news, random stuff like that. And then in 2023, this year, start of the year, Brandon from Retro Dodo reached out to me. He had seen some of my content. He was like, "Hey, would you want to start up a podcast for Retro Dodo, where it's like retro game themed topics most of the time, and I think it'd be good for our community." I was like, "Hell yeah, dude, get me on that. That'd be so fun." And so yeah, this year has been a big growing, I guess, time for me where I am doing it weekly with him, and we're always just talking about very nostalgic retro related things, and it's been a ton of fun. Just seeing that community, being part of that, and growing my chops as a retro enthusiast and learning so many things. It's all like nostalgic gaming. It's easy for the most part, but there's a lot of stuff about retro gaming that I didn't understand,
Mm.
that I didn't have a part of. Like the Sega was just something that I completely didn't even touch. We're talking about the 64 here, of course, because it's the best system ever in the whole world. Uh,
Heck yeah.
so so yeah, that's kind of what I've been up to, man. I podcast a lot with Brandon and live my day job as a digital marketer. So it's a full and fun filled life.
Amazing. That's awesome. So where can everybody find it? What's the best way to sort of keep track of that awesome stuff?
Yeah, dude, just you can just check it out. It's just Retrospect by Retro Dodo on all the podcasting places. That's where we're doing most of our content, and it's on YouTube as
Amazing.
well.
Awesome. There we go. Now you mentioned that the N64 is the greatest console of all time. Now
Yeah, dude.
let's hear your
One
elevator
of us
pitch.
agrees with you.
Yeah.
Wait, what'd you say, Jordan? What'd you say?
I said one of us agrees with you.
Yeah.
Ooh, wait. Who doesn't agree here?
The person who started the show does not think that this is the greatest console of all time. I am just very
I
interested in it.
How you gonna have a podcast about the 64 and not think it's the best console of all time? How dare you?
I think I have used this word and these phrases a few times through this podcast already, but it is an awkward generation of consoles. I was an awkward individual around this time and just after, young teenage years. It is what it is.
Mm,
But
mm.
And I think, it was part of the growing pains of what was needed to get to where we are. And that's totally fine. I don't dislike this. I love this console. But I'm a little bit impartial to the 2D stuff that I grew up with on the SNES and the Genesis. So that's usually where I sit with things. I don't know that I have like a particular favorite, like greatest console of all time, but this is a fun console to explore. And that is one of the reasons. That's one of the reasons why we're here in general. So I don't know.
I'm pretty sure I heard you flat out say the Super Nintendo was my favorite console of all time.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure you can look back on.
Probably.
I'm pretty sure it was the Mischief Makers episode because I remember listening to it. I was not in it. I remember listening to it and being like, "This guy." With his N64 podcast, just said his favorite system was not the N64.
This son of a bitch over here. Hey, you know what? Yeah, he's just living a lie.
Man, dude, you're saying the N64 is not your favorite. You're saying Duck Dodgers is bad, man. I had to bring it in. I had to bring it in.
Bring it in all you want, man. I'll take it. I'll take it. I did not enjoy my time with that game. All right, Jake. What's the elevator pitch and what's your experience with the N64? With or without Paper Mario? Did you grow up with it? Was it something you had later? What was your whole sphere around this console?
Yeah, man. So I have two brothers, one older, one younger. The older one was the one who would always be like the leader in the household in terms of what gaming system we were going to be picking up or playing, because he was so wise. He's only 2 years older than me, but he was the one making the choices.
Beyond his
Super
years.
Nintendo. Yes, he had a Super Nintendo. We had a Super Nintendo first. Loved that, and that was like what we had for a long time, and then. Near the end of the 90s, we were going to move, and one of my friends was like, "Hey, I'm tired of this N64. I don't want this anymore. Do you want this?" And I was like, "Yeah, dude." And he was like, $75 for the console, like 8 games, 4 controllers, and the expansion pack. And I was like, "Yeah, that sounds like a sick deal."
Yeah.
And so basically, yeah, I just bought like this incredible collection of like everything you would need for an essential N64 experience, and that was like my first console I ever owned, and it like just completely blew me away. I had played Mario 64 at a cousin's house, and I knew that I wanted this 64, and so when this opportunity came up, I was like, the Lord is shining down upon me. This is my moment. Here's the N64. Let's freaking go. And so we moved, and I didn't have like a ton of friends when we first moved, and so the N64 was there for me in a very pivotal time of like growing up, where I was like, well, I'm just going to play the N64 while I figure out what life is like in Ohio. And I'm just going to, try and figure out what games I'm supposed to be playing. And I got to go to Blockbuster so much and rent games. And it was a very magical time. A very magical time. So many sleepovers playing like all the multiplayer games. Pokemon was at its height. We were playing sleepovers all the time. Smash Bros. Introduced me to like so many just characters I'd never even heard of before. I was like, who's Ness? What is her?
Right?
What is Samus? Like it was all these things that I just had really never even considered. And so yeah, it was just the best.
And you must have had like a pretty sick lineup of games to be able to like really sink into, because 4, 5, 10 games, it's somewhere in there. You're gonna have some gems. You must, right?
Well, yeah. Thankfully, the friend that I bought from wasn't a ding dong. He was reading the magazines, right?
He was all up on Nintendo Power.
He knew. So yeah, it came with like, I think it had Wave Race 64, it had Mario 64, it had Zelda Ocarina of Time, it had Mortal Kombat, it had Donkey Kong 64, Quest 64, Glover, and like something else. Those are the ones that I can remember distinctly coming with.
Good lineup though.
That's that's a great lineup, man.
Pretty fun lineup. Yeah.
Did we ask what was your first game and what's your favorite game?
I would have to say my favorite game on the 64 has got to be Mario 64. I know that's like cliche. It is the 64 game that you should probably play. But that is my favorite game. And then what was the second question? Sorry.
What was your first game? Whether it's 64 or not, I'm just curious.
I think the first game was either Mario Kart 64 or Mario 64. You know, it was like one of those two. My cousin had both. We were like at a beach house,
Amazing.
and I remember like my parents were like, "Let's go outside," and I was like, "No, let's stay inside and play this
Yes.
N64."
You crazy
Yeah,
old
right?
people, come on.
Yeah,
I'm still
This
that
is-
way.
Yeah, yeah. Honestly, like, why wouldn't you do that now? Yeah.
Too
Tell
hot.
me you
Indoors.
still, yeah, tell me you still do that when you
There's
can.
sand out there, not in here. Yeah,
We don't like sand. We're like young Darth Vader. We don't like sand.
yeah, young Darth. Awesome.
Okay, so let's talk about Paper Mario. Jiggy, I'm going to start with you and sort of your experience with the game. I know you told me through messaging over the last couple weeks that this is definitely not your first time playing this game. And how was it kind of going back to it, like sort of brief overview?
Let's see. Okay, so first experience playing this game, I don't remember ever owning it until like later. Like as a child with my N64, I played it, I rented it, and I did beat it. But I think I had to rent it multiple times, like
Sure,
in a row,
yeah,
because I just need it. But which honestly, what's the pricing of renting games back then? Like my dad should have just bought it for me, but for some reason he didn't.
Not cheap.
100%. I want to say, at least for me, I have this whole like games were like $6 or $7 and a movie was like $4 or $5. That's what I have in my mind. I don't know if that's actually the case, but that was sort of the range.
That's about right.
Yeah, is that right?
They were more expensive than the movies.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sounds about right.
And only a couple days, only a couple evenings, just like movies were, right? Which is insane, especially a game like this. Like 100%, you have to rent this multiple times.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's long, it's pretty
Yeah.
long for a 64 game especially, but I really enjoyed it and going, I've probably beaten it several times. I've beaten it on the N64. I played it on the virtual console on my Nintendo Wii, I think. I might have done it again on the Wii U, to be honest with you. And then I actually did this time to get the like full circle. I did it on Switch Online.
Mm-hmm.
So
Very nice.
I've enjoyed my experience every single time. The battle system in it is amazing. Like I just love it. I think it's so simple, it's refined. And the partners you get, in my opinion, Lady Bo is the best. We can debate that. We can argue. And I'm not saying from the perspective of the battle system, but I just love Lady Bo. I think she's just super cool. And you can't go intangible, which is pretty awesome, and it sets you up. I just wish you didn't eliminate the next use of that partner. But I love the battle system, the graphics, like, and the music. Like, I don't feel like the music gets enough credit. Like, it's overall just an amazing game. The star helpers, like, we'll go on about it, I'm sure, but it's awesome. And every time I played this game, I've loved it. And I found myself going back in the Switch Online in particular. Like, I played it everywhere I could, handheld, in the bed, under the covers at night. My wife's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "I'm just playing Paper Mario. Like, shh, it's okay." And I played it on my big flat screen. Yeah, I'm like, "I gotta finish this by Thursday."
I have homework.
I'm like,
you're doing the joystick.
yeah, exactly. I gotta be honest. I was going through it's not PD Piranha, but it's a piranha plant on Mount Lava Lava. That piranha plant boss that you face, right? And it forces you to use Sushi, right? Because that's your new partner. It's like you got to use him.
Out.
You got to put the fires out. And just the whole motion of doing the joystick to the left and then letting it go was probably very annoying at like 12 o'clock at night. Like, click.
Yep.
But I love it. The game is great. I love the aesthetic. I don't know why they ever thought paper was an option, but I love that they did it, and it's so cool. It's got a lot of charm.
Yeah, charm is a great way to put it, for sure. I think every character is like that. Okay, so like I mentioned, this is the first time I've played this game. I wouldn't be surprised if I rented it at one point. I wouldn't be surprised if one of my friends had it and I just happened to play it, a couple of times. But my memory is kind of a little bit mixed up between this and Mario RPG. Because I know there's some like similar things. I know they look very different, obviously different consoles, but I think that's probably where my memory more sits. But this is 20 to 25 years ago, and it's just hard to remember. It's just whatever. I can't remember what I had for lunch. So what was cool going into it was I knew what the battle system was. I knew that there were partners, but I thought it was like maybe 3 or 4. I didn't realize it was like a smaller group or whatever. None of that didn't bother me or anything, but I was like, oh, okay, that's an interesting way of doing it. Smaller battles, so to speak, 4 or 5 at the most, I think you face. And it's pretty well balanced, I would say, which is nice. But the biggest thing is, to me, that consistently from start to finish was exactly what you said, Jiggy, is that this game looks so good. Like it doesn't... I played it on Switch as well. Easiest way to do it, and I can pick up and play kind of whenever. And it was pretty much the only game that I had opening, closing, sleep, awake, whatever, on my Switch for like
I think it really benefits on the Switch. Like, it's one of those games you can pick up and play for a few hours and then put it down, you know, and then immediately come back to it. It really works well in handheld. Like, this is awesome.
Yeah, it looks good on handheld. It works well because and even if you didn't have save states, which I didn't use that many of them, because the actual save spots you have to save are actually somewhat forgiving for a sort of longer RPG type game, which is probably playing into the whole Nintendo, oh, this isn't necessarily made just for adults kind of, and that's totally fine. Which is why I think this game actually works in a number of ways, but. I had a really good time with this. I really, really like this game. I like the sort of like small in between moments that they have with Peach. I think are great. The writing is really witty and really funny a lot of the time. There's a couple points which we'll get to that I just felt like, oh, feels like it's just padding and like I don't need to do this, and I sort of dropped some sort of side quests or tasks. And I pretty much all but maybe one of the partners, maybe 2, I really enjoyed, and I thought they were great. And they all had, regardless, they all have their own unique moves. They all have their own little like stories that you run across, and you use them for certain reasons. And it's so crazy that this is what they followed up Mario 64 with. That is what also blows my mind. Is, hey, we had this massive game that changed the industry in a lot of ways. You know what? Let's make this guy not just 2D, but the whole world is pretty much going to be flat, and then you can kind of move in a 3D-ish plane. And I was like, what? This is what you... Love it. I love it. I love those types of design decisions that Nintendo makes, and this one was a great one. Now I wish I played more of the sequels, because this was pretty much the only one I think that I played. Maybe I played... Thousand Year Door, which I think is the GameCube one. I think I played that one, but even then, there's no way I played all of these games to completion, even if I did. So I love this game. I thought it was awesome. Yeah, Thousand Year Door. Yeah, I thought it was great. So thank you for suggesting it, sir. Jake, what did you feel? This obviously was not the first time you played it.
Yeah, so it was funny hearing Jiggy's just recollection of how many times he's probably played the game. So yes, rented it a ton on the 64. And, we were talking about this when you jumped off the call for a second, but what's kind of interesting, so I did a little bit of like research on Paper Mario to kind of understand where it laid, like why it came out when it did and why it's so similar to Mario RPG, because it's actually compared a lot to that game because it carries a lot of the same characteristics. You have timed attacks, you have some of the clever and witty writing, you have the party-based system that you're using, and like it's interesting because what happened is Square and Nintendo actually, like, they had a pretty big sever right when the PlayStation came out, and basically Square is like, we're no longer developing our games for Nintendo, we're going to bring them all over to PlayStation because of like the money and cost benefit they were getting from not developing on Nintendo anymore. So Paper Mario was kind of supposed to be Super Mario RPG 2, and that never actually came to fruition, and there was all kinds of stuff. I think in Japan it's called Mario's Story and not Paper Mario. And it's just this like weird culmination of like the DNA of Super Mario RPG, but with this paper aesthetic. Because I think originally it was supposed to also be the Super Mario World like sprites from SNES, like moving on screen. There's like an original drawing of this that somebody has, and I was like, that would be so sick.
Yeah.
But anyways, brief history lesson, kind of fun. But I played it on the original N64. I played it on the Wii U or the Wii Virtual Console, and I played it in college again on the original N64 again because I was like back in a retro phase, buying up games
Yeah.
again. And then I played it again most recently on Switch. And so yeah, I think of the best way to play it, probably that I've enjoyed the most so far, has been on the Switch. Again, because it works in the handheld super well. However, my caveat would be that you do need to. I think the best way to play still is on the N64 controller.
I agree.
As
100%.
awkward as it is, the joystick was designed for those attacks and like the movement in this game, and like using the Z trigger to kind of zip around town just feels better on the
Yeah.
N64 controller.
Yeah. On Switch,
But
pressing that button is where they situate it on the shoulders is like it's fine, but I can imagine just holding the 64 controller would be nice. Yeah.
Yeah, and just to play off that, I mean, using Joy-Cons for anything kind of sucks.
Yeah.
So,
They're not
I
great.
mean, using a Pro controller, not so bad. So it sounds like the definitive way to do this is getting the Switch Online N64 wireless controller.
Right.
Yep.
Which I have 2 coming in the mail. I finally snaked him. I was like, I want one so bad. You know what? I'm gonna get 2.
Oh wow! So you were able to get 2? Because I got one a
got
long
2.
time ago, and then I didn't realize they were like really hard to get a hold of. And stuff
Oh
like that.
yeah.
Friends like, dude, I have not been able to get one yet, and I was like, that's so weird. I just got on Amazon. I think Wario64 posted that they were for sale, and I just got one like right when they came out, and I was like, okay, cool, great.
Lucky ducky.
Yeah, you seem like that's pretty much everyone that has one, it seems, is that. Or Jiggy, who's basically saying, no soup for you, but with N64 controllers. So it's like,
So
do
sorry.
do you know what I do? What I've done to try to get one of these? Okay. So I had 2 opportunities to actually get them, and both of those times I was like, I'm low on funds. I'm going to wait till tomorrow.
yeah, right.
And
Right.
both of those times were a mistake, and it was out of stock the next day. I have my Nintendo account logged in. I have it favorited, and I'm supposed to get notifications when these things come back in stock. I think I was on Instagram, and someone posted, "Oh, they're back in stock." I immediately just went on and was like, "All right, I'm just gonna get 2."
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I got 2.
Just knock it out.
I did the stock. This is funny now that I'm going to mention this particular console, but I did the sort of sign up and get like notifications for the stock when the mini SNES came out, because it was insanely hard to get a hold of. So I got like a notification when I was at work, and me and the other guy that did the same thing, who actually helped me sort of show me what to sign up for. I can't remember what the name of the site is or whatever. He's like, "Did you just get the email?" I was like, "Yeah, I got the email." And we just, luckily we had just enough time to run to the store that was near us at work, and we each got one. It was like, this is the greatest moment of my life. It was awesome.
Yes.
Otherwise, I've never done anything like that, but I do understand it, because that kind of stuff happens all the time. And it's so weird that happens now. Like, I know that it's easier, quote unquote, easier to order things. There's definitely more people interested in this stuff. Access to the internet, all this stuff is still there. But like at this time, when this game was out, when the SNES was out, when the Genesis was out, all that kind of stuff, like Nintendo was like in such control of these consoles and this hardware, whether it was the games or the consoles, that like this happened 35 years ago, but in a completely different way. And it's like, why is it always linked to Nintendo? Like, what the hell, man? What are they doing to us?
Halo's
Limited stock. Limited stock. They're like, "Oh, you wanted one? Well, you're gonna have to sign up for it. We only made 20."
Yeah, made 20. Yeah.
Now we're getting all these headlines about how so many people want it, but they can't get it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No, they're
our business.
They're definitely smarter than us, for sure. Business.
Well, they're doing something right.
Well, they're definitely doing something right. Yeah. So I want to start with, or I want to actually talk about sort of some of the sort of like the chapters, I think, because we'll get into characters, we'll get into sort of like our favorites of that and everything. But like, for me, I put this on social media as well, and I was just like so excited to get into what's the Shy Guy one? Where is it? It is chapter 4,
Toy box.
Yeah, the Trials in the Toy Box. I was like, this is such a cool idea. I love Shy Guys. Love the way they look. I like, always their sort of their sound effects and all that kind of stuff. They're always so much. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I to me, Shy Guys are Super Mario 2. Like that's sort of where I always sort of picture them in that art style. But they haven't really changed over time. Like they're one of the characters that always look almost exactly the same. Also in Super Mario RPG. I was like, okay, in a toy box, I'm shrinking down. This is a cool idea. I like this. And then it just ended up being a huge pain in the ass to play this chapter. Like,
yeah.
I still enjoy the aesthetic. I still enjoyed the boss. You get a new partner every time you go to a new chapter. All this stuff is cool. But going in and out and in and out, trying to remember who's who, where you have to go, give them this thing, they stole that thing, blah, blah. I was just like, oh my God, this is just driving me nuts. Like, can I just stay in the toy box? Like, I just want to be in the toy box. Can I just play with my toys in the toy box? But everything else before and after that, I thought was great. I thought it was awesome. They have so much fun with the aesthetic. They have so much fun with the different areas that you're in. Some of them are sort of you have the desert, you have the lava thing, you have the ice levels. Like I all that stuff is cool and something you've seen before, I guess, in some ways. But the way that they put everything together in this game, nothing felt tedious, nothing felt old, nothing felt tired. It was just that one particular chapter, which is pretty much right in the middle of the game, I think. That I was like, is this what they're gonna do from now? Is this? But luckily, it's just that one. For me, anyway, it felt like that was just that one chapter. I don't know if you guys had like a particular favorite or one that you did or did not enjoy. I don't know.
Bo. That chapter. That's my favorite. I love the aesthetic. I love going through the mansion and everything. Yeah. And it's so much fun. It's so much fun. So it's funny you say that because I wasn't really thinking about it. But yeah, the Shy Guy one. Definitely my least favorite.
Yeah, that's not great.
The aesthetic of it is cool. I like you said, I like the idea of it, but it's so tedious and very hit this switch, make this move, go to this way, and then hit the switch to make it go. And then it's like, wait, which way did I have to hit that switch again? What color did I have to, like, it's,
the invisible thing.
Yeah, I just
find the invisible.
Stuff.
Smack the floor to find the invisible shard, which I didn't know until I looked up what color I had to go to next or whatever. I sort of found that I'm like, oh, I have to slam Mario on the floor to get this random shard. I was like, okay. I mean, I guess it's fine. It's just but.
So there's two other moments that I kind of like. I'm thinking like I didn't really enjoy that, and the two moments I'm thinking of are one. Is actually the desert when you're trying to navigate to the next area and you're just like walking through. It's kind of like they're kind of like empty spaces. You can find a little oasis. That's kind of cool. But overall, I'm like, they could have simplified that or made it just not as, I don't know. It just a little unnecessarily complicated.
Right.
And then the other thing was to get into flower fields, you have to get seeds and you have to bring them to whatever they call him, I don't remember, the flower dude or whatever, and the little toadette, and it's just like if you don't pay attention to where they are in the worlds, you'll have to go back and you have to find them to progress, and that happened to me, and I was like, I don't remember which one, so I was like, well, I'm gonna look this up because I know I've done it the right way before. I was like, and I'm definitely trying for speed here. I'm trying to finish this game again. And so I'm like, which one did I not get? And so I looked it up. There's only 4, right? It's not like it's not a huge deal, but if you missed one and you didn't have the resources of looking it up, which we didn't really I guess we kind of did back in the day, but it was more magazine based, I'd say, than online based. But you'd be searching. You'd be going world to world, and you don't move fast in this game, really, when you're exploring. Which is another thing. There's no fast travel, and there really should be.
The pipes.
something.
The pipes.
Oh yeah, there's pipes, but you got to know where those are.
I stumbled upon those. I had no idea there was any fast travel. I saw those like brown squares beside each sort of like stage. I was like, what are those? Do I plant something
Sometimes
there?
they're blocked. Sometimes they're color coded. You're like, what does that even mean? Where am I
Yeah.
going with this one?
It was a little strange. I feel like it was sort of a weird place to put them because you kind of have it. Like I feel like that should be more accessible. You know, like I want to jump from place to place. Like why do I have to go through like 6 different screens just to get to like one?
Right.
And then I have to remember which one I have to go in. And it's not the end of the world, but it's just small dated design. I think is all it is. And that's is what it is. I guess I don't know.
Do you guys find yourself doing the little spinny move and moving as fast as possible? Like,
oh yeah, dude.
Like you just hold the spinny move, spinny move, spinny move, spinny move, spinny move. I do a spinny move, jump, spinny move.
Yes.
A little faster.
Just so I don't have to do the little end animation, and I feel like it moves faster.
Yeah, that's all it is. But you're also not going to put on that badge where it tells you where you go faster or longer or something. I never did that. Because I was going to I'm not going to waste badge space, and also I probably would forget when I got to a battle and be like, shit.
Yeah, and then you need it.
Yeah.
You're fighting the big Koopa bully guy that wants to take all your money, and you have that badge on. You're like, great.
I think for me, like one of the more like the parts I didn't like the best was the jungle actually. Having to use sushi, like I don't like sushi's abilities.
Yeah.
And then having to find the Yoshis everywhere, I was just like, okay. Like that whole part in the village, I'm not a fan of. But then when you actually get to like the actual temple after that, or like the boss area, that's fun. But like that lead up, I didn't love. Shy Guy, you're right, absolutely just garbage. But I think like what I really appreciate about Paper Mario in the way that they built this game or designed it is that the lead up to each of the new areas really was intentional. They really wanted you to go back into Toad Town and like talk to somebody, and they were going to give you an obscure clue about like, okay, you need to go over here and talk to this person, and you're like, okay, and like the mystery like kind of unravels. You get like the ability to travel in there, and then there's just more to do to actually get you to the next star piece. And it's just this kind of fun little journey through these little environments, and I feel like you meet a lot of pretty memorable characters along the way. So like when you see them at the very end, it's a bit more touching. You're like, oh yeah, I remember when I went through there and I talked to those people and, helped them with all the fuzzies in their town. Like it's just kind of like I think they did a really good job of making the approach to each new area a little more interesting.
Yeah, I think it builds to, even if some of the tasks that they give you sometimes are like side tasks and you don't necessarily have to do them.
Yeah.
Right away, like the mail delivery thing, like I started doing that and then it just kept going and going and going. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to keep doing this. I don't even know what it gets you. Do you guys even know what it gets you? Like if you get to the end of it, because you basically are just the messenger between like 2 or 3 characters constantly.
Probably a star piece.
Probably a star
probably
piece.
a star piece.
Yeah, probably like 1 star. I would have been like, screw this. But it was fun. But to your point, Jake, is that like you are getting to know a couple of these characters that you're even for something like a tedious task like that. I was like, oh, I care to get these people their correspondence when they're in different towns because they're just trying to be friends from a distance and they have no other way to do it. Why wouldn't I want to be a helping hand? I'm Mario, for Christ's sake. Why wouldn't I want to be that character? Why wouldn't I want to be that person? And then every time you have the Koopa, the mail delivery Koopa beside you, keep forgetting his name.
Harry? Yeah.
Parakarry. Yeah. I love the way he looks, by the way. He looks like an old, like, sort of fighter pilot with his, like, leather cap and everything. I love that. And his little satchel. Also, I found his moves really fun to use, but we'll get to the characters in a sec. Anyways, it just, he has a little bit of a personality. He's like, oh, a mail carrier's day is never done. Like, things like that. I'm just like, oh, this guy's great. He just loves his, yippee, neato gang. Like, he clearly doesn't know how to do his job well, so why not help him? I guess what it was.
Keep dropping your letters, bro.
Yeah, what are you doing, buddy? Like, come on. And also, you just gave up finding them? Let's go. Come on, you can fly. Why am I the one getting them for you? You could get a bird's eye view, literally. But it's true. Those lead ups into it, might not be like the highlights, when you really think back to it, like, you know, you're thinking about your partners, you're thinking about some of the boss battles. We're talking about sort of our favorite sort of, I guess you can call them dungeons, I guess if you want to call them that. Those are all, to me, the highlights. Like the dungeon areas are all just really fun and really cool. But those little moments, those dungeons and those characters, it wouldn't matter if you didn't have that build up. So I think that's a really good point. It's my really long-winded way of saying, Jake, you're absolutely right.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. It's crazy. It's crazy to think about the O chapter where like that one feels the most substantial in terms of like the lead up, because you're going through the haunted forest first, and you have to like figure out the patterns of like the bushes around it to get to the actual haunted mansion.
I love that. Yeah.
And you're in the mansion, and then you find Bo, and then you have to go to Bubba's place to like actually fight him and like save the ghosts, and it's just like this whole very long, like I feel like meaningful quest. And I was like, that's a good one. That's a good chapter.
Yeah. And Tubba Bubba is kind of like, you know, he's like, I don't want to be this way. You know, like he's just like the you know, the softy, the big softy is pretty much what he is. And I love that, where it's like, you know, in cartoons they'll have the really big guy that's called Tiny, but really he's just a softy. Like I love that kind of stuff. I immediately think of one of my favorite Disney movies, which is Emperor's New Groove. Kronk is probably one of the greatest characters ever. And
the poison.
Yeah. Oh, the poison.
Patrick Warburton is the like definitive voice actor in my mind. I just love him. And if you've never seen the live action Tick series that he was the Tick, it's fantastic. It's just a lot of him yelling the stupidest things. And he's like, you know, that's Patrick Warburton. That's my impression.
It's
He's
brilliant.
great.
That's really good.
It's brilliant. Yeah.
That's great.
High five. If anyone's a Seinfeld fan, high five. What's with the high fives? I don't understand. Yes. So, and then also before we sort of talk about like characters and stuff like that too, or I guess as we talk about characters, sort of the side chapters, the Peach stuff, the Peach adventures. I think those are really cool.
Yeah.
I think they're fun.
I don't know if this is the first time that you get to really play as Peach in a video game outside of like Super Mario Bros. 2, but it was I feel like it was really meaningful, and I love the little like sneak around mechanics, like kind of the stealth mechanics you had to employ. Like I loved that.
It was an investigation. It felt totally different than Mario's gameplay, which I did appreciate. And I will say that you do like a trivia quiz at one point. You're like doing it against the Koopas, and they do not have. Like, you have to just hit the button so you can answer, because it's like 2 seconds. I found myself like reading the question on the screen, and by the time I could even read the question, they were already buzzed in answering it. I'm like, geez, and I'm not a slow reader. I'm a fast reader, okay?
Oh, I'm a slow reader, man. Me and my wife go back and forth all the time, where it's like she can read like 3 books a day. I can read maybe 3 pages a day. Like that's my level.
Yeah.
I'm already done with this book.
Yeah, she'll say like, "Oh, this book." I said, "Oh, how, you know, we'll be somewhere, or she'll be reading a book and be like, so, how's the book going? How's?" She's like, "Oh, I'm really liking it." Okay, so you on to the 4th one now? She's like, "No." I'm like, "Well, you're a fast reader. What do you like? What do you want me to say? I don't know how you. I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you people do it. No, that's fair. The Peach stuff is really fun, because you're right, Jake. I don't know if you can play as her in any other way. I should have looked that up, but I have. This could be and it's simple, but simple in a good way. You know, like you said, Jiggy, they make you do something different with her, and I think that's awesome.
Yeah, she's proactive. She's helping out Mario as much as she can while she's captured in a giant castle in the sky. You know, she's talking to her best friend Twink, and she's sending him down there with some sensitive information to help out Mario.
Yeah,
exactly. I love
the inside scoop.
Yeah, they got the inside scoop. I thought it was always. I mean, this is just video game stuff. Just video gamey. Is like every time he you know, Twink finds Mario, he's like, "Oh, I gotta go back to Peach now." It's like, well, why don't you help, man? Like, what? What do you? You don't do anything until she does something. Just hang out for a bit, man. You could be like the third partner in the fight here. Like, come on, let's go.
It's too small. It's too small.
That's true. Yeah, that's right. That was part of it. Yeah. I thought those are really fun, and it gives you that sort of a hint of the now more obvious like fiery personality that characters like Zelda and Peach have. Whereas I think as kids that was never really evident. Unless you played this game, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's awesome. I think that's cool to see. So, and again, I don't know what it is. It's the aesthetic of the game, but when you're sneaking around and the flashlights and the castle is dark and stuff, it looks so good. It looks so good. The colors and the lighting and stuff. It's again, it's all paper based, I guess you could call it. It all looks simple, but it just works, and
This works.
It's awesome. Yeah, everything just folds together nicely.
Oh,
I don't know if that's a thing that people say, but now they will. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
They will now. Jake, do you have a favorite partner or favorite character?
Yeah, I go between two, and it's not Bo. It's actually it's Bombette or Parakarry, mainly because they're the most useful in battle.
Right.
You know, Bo, unfortunately, even when she's maxed out, like she can't do damage sometimes to enemies that have like a shield and stuff like that.
That's true.
So I was always defaulting to like Bombette or Parakarry because Parakarry has a move that can do sort of a similar all damage attack to like the shooting stars attack. And then it also like his dive bomb attack can hit anyone that's spiked as well. So for me, I just found myself using him a lot because I was just like, yeah, it's pretty low cost for most of his attacks and he does decent damage. So yeah, that's my vote.
Nice. Jiggy, you're all about the bow.
Well, I'm all about the bow. And I will say that while that's true, if they do have a shield or a shell or something, it can be frustrating. But she does pull out the whole like intangibility thing where you can basically save yourself. If you know there's a killer move, you can save yourself. You just have to be strategic about it. I think the spook move where you like scare enemies away is like borderline useless. I'd never use that. But it is funny. It's a funny move. But when the slapping does work, like her base attack, when that does work, it's so satisfying. It does so much because you can keep it going. I mean, it's just like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Like I don't know what it maxes out at, but it's crazy. Like it just keeps going. And she's just got style and she's cool. And I like that. I like Boos in general.
Yeah,
but I think Bo is just the evolution of a Boo, and she looks totally different.
She's green.
I just love it. She's green. I just love that. And if I had to follow it up with a second one, I would say functionally, Bombette, I feel is really useful. Like I found myself, I would use Bombette to fight, but I would switch back to Bo. just to move around because I was like, I want Bo to follow me.
Chill with Bo.
I also like Watt. I like Watt just because I like the design of Watt because it looks like a little sun to me. I don't.
It's a little light bulb just floating
It's
around.
a little light. Yeah, it's a little light. He's just
so sweet.
He's cute. He's
sweet.
cute, and he can zap things. Like, what more do you want?
Yeah.
What about you?
I think I'm a little torn between Parakarry and Cooper actually. Cooper's the second one.
Too.
Second one you get. I just it does come down to the battle mechanic, I think, when it comes to these, because similar to Para, Cooper can hit most characters. Not everybody. I know they want you to switch no matter what. Like no one's going to be perfect in every scenario, but just being able to hit everybody. You know, you back that up with your hammer that can smack everybody. The Quake hammer, I think it was. That's a great combo, and I really liked that. So if you get that early hit, then you can sort of at least take away the guy in the front first, and like those little things I think really helped. And then Watt, I think would be my. Part of it is the look. I think I love the character designs in this game, and I do think that Watt's this little baby light bulb or baby sun is sort of what it looks like. Is he's got a little pacifier in his mouth. Is that what that's supposed to be?
I think that's the end of the light bulb.
Yeah.
It's the end of a light bulb. That makes sense. But it looks like a pacifier to me.
I thought it was a pacifier and he was just a baby.
Or it's or you know what? Honestly,
it's a little baby.
It's probably both. I think that's the idea.
It could be any of them. I don't even know what he is. It's when I look at the image right now, it's hard to tell, to be honest.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. And I do like and as I was looking this up too to make sure that I had everybody's name correct, which I have still screwed up people's name, is when they introduce you to these characters, I wish there was a way to go back to the little like freeze frame and like paint photos that they
I
give
love
you
this.
of each of them, because on top of just the aesthetic and the art choice of the game, those are really cool. It's like a watercolor representation of each of these characters, and it looks so good. If they had, I might even just make this for myself and just grab pictures off the internet and just make it like my background, because I would just get all the characters, put them in a grid, and put all those pictures together, because I think it would look great. They're all have really nice color. They're all show you like their abilities and stuff like that, and it's a completely different art style from the game itself. And I love that those little touches like that. I love when games do that. It's not necessary. They didn't even have to show you a picture. They could have just given you text and button prompts, and that's it. But they did this little extra thing, this tiny little JPEG or whatever it was at the time, and it looks great, and I love that. And it adds a little personality to everything. And also Mario looks a little bit like Baby Mario in it, which is great in these little pictures, which is fun. Yeah.
Do we agree that Goombario is the worst?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
I mean, the tattle is helpful. Like if you're fighting like one of the side bosses or the extra bosses, and you're like, I don't know how much HP this dude has. Like, I just need to know this. Like, that's really helpful. But other than that, not very helpful.
The odd time I kind of remember, I kind of tried to remember, I feel like, this is where the boss battle is going to be triggered, so I should put him first so I don't have to switch over and lose a turn or whatever. I was like, okay, I'll put him first so I could do the tattle and I can get a little information on this larger boss that I have to fight. But other than that, other than the first couple of hours of the game, like, he's fun and everything, but he's, if he had a hammer like Mario did, then that would help his moves, but his moves I don't know.
His name is so dumb.
I think Spike is also kind of trash, to be honest. I didn't like Spike that much. I liked moving around on him. Like, you could jump on his little cloud and float around, but I think, like, as a battle partner, he sucked. He just, like, all of his moves don't feel that good, and I'm just, he wasn't my favorite.
Yeah. The cloud thing is cool. I like that, like, a character like that is on your team. What are those guys called? They're called the
Lakitus.
Lakitus, that's it.
Yep.
I always forget that name. Great to bring all these different types of enemies and make them part of your team. But that's what I mean, like frenemies or whatever. But like, I think that's also a great decision by Nintendo and the people that worked in this game and stuff, is to sort of subvert expectations a little bit and not just be, hey, it's Mario, Luigi, and Peach and the typical characters or whatever. Which also reminds me that Luigi is nowhere to be seen in this game, and that is a shame, because I think it would actually be a lot of fun to have him. But he's like the security for Mario's house, I guess. Is that the idea? I don't know.
He's just there. He's just holding things down, I guess. Yeah, while Mario's out saving the world.
Trying to think what his diary entries were in the house, because you can go below and read the diary entries, and he's always like, man, I hate that my brother gets all the attention. Like, I want to be a hero too. Like, Luigi's innermost thoughts.
What would have been amazing is if he popped up in the Boo mansion, and it would be like the origin story of Luigi's mansion.
Yeah,
that would be sick.
He's like, how did I get here? Oh no, it's a ghost, and then he runs away. That's all you would need. He wouldn't even need to stick around. He would just be like, how did I get here? I'm so lost and scared. That would be great. Oh man,
is there not an Easter egg? Is there not an Easter egg in Luigi's Mansion for Bo? If not, that's tragic, and that's a shame.
I don't think so. I don't think played
is.
That game a ton. I would notice.
I have not played the original. I've played 3, and I've played Dark Moon like 4 times.
Oh my gosh, dude! You've never played the first Luigi's Mansion? No. That's the best one. It's better than the other two.
Dark Moon is awesome.
I disagree.
You disagree? Wait. Which one do you think is the best?
3 is probably the best.
Okay, three is great. 2 is really the worst.
Dark Moon introduced a lot of interesting mechanics, and I think 1 has the best like atmosphere, but like it's hella short, and like
it is short. It is short.
Okay. It's not that fun.
Yeah,
it is short. I could go on about it because I love that. That's one of my favorite games. It's a quick play, but it's so fun to explore the mansion, and it's just such a Luigi. So, man, if Bo was in it, it would have made it so much better.
Yeah. Nice.
Bring Bo back. Hashtag bring Bo back.
That'll be for the GameCube podcast. We'll talk about Luigi's Mansion.
All right, sounds good.
Yeah. I mean, I'll talk about it here too. It's fine. I haven't played it, so it's even better. Jake, was there anything that like when you were playing it, that you were like surprised, like, oh, I don't remember this being like this mechanic or this part of the game, like chapter or this character or something. You were like, ooh, this is a fun, like, surprise or something I forgot about that I really enjoyed. Like maybe it's something simple, or maybe it's everything we've talked about already. I don't know. Maybe it's something like that. Is there anything that stood out like that?
Yeah. So I always forget the bow chapter. I always forget where Tubba Blubba comes in. I'm always like, what chapter is he a part of? So that one it's always fun revisiting because then you see how it all plays out. Like this is great.
Yeah.
And then the Ice Palace one, like that one, it's so near the end of the game that I kind of just forget about it. And that it's pretty tough. Like the Ice Wizard, whatever the guy's name is, the Ice King at the end, like he kind of kicked my ass. And I remember, like, I don't remember it being that hard as a kid. I was like, dude, I don't remember struggling this much with this dude last time. I'm just getting worse at video games. But like those were two like pretty fun visits. A lot of it I still like vividly remember, like the dojo and stuff like that. Just going there and fighting all those bosses and stuff. But those are the ones for sure. The Ice Palace.
Yeah,
That was a fun
Ice
revisit.
Palace was the difficult one for me, for sure. I don't know if it's just because it's late game. I don't know if that has something to do with it, but most of the time the bosses and stuff, yeah, I got bumped around a little bit, but I had enough equipped that I was usually okay to survive and got through it without too much stress and didn't die too much in this game. But that's okay though. I still like that. I think the difficulty's pretty good. That's where it spikes a little bit, but not too much. It's not too terrible. I don't know about Jiggy. What about you?
Save states. Just rewind.
Save states
Yeah,
too.
save
Yeah,
states.
save states. Yeah.
The items are also super helpful in this game. Like I feel
Yeah.
like I really was calculating which items I picked up
Yep.
and like strategically use like different effects. And the star powers, because they're pseudo partners, right? Because you
Yes.
have them. As long as you save your star meter, you can implement the stars as a special attack. Lullaby is very useful. The star shower, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, something like
See,
that.
you knew. And and even the like the first one you get that's refresh that gives you some HP and FP can really
Yep.
make or break the end of a battle, especially if
Yeah.
you have bow and you refresh. You use her, no hit, you just gain 5 health. It's like just a turn to recover.
Yeah.
I love
that's
that.
true. Yeah. I wish there was a little bit more space for items. I could have used a couple more here and there.
It's small.
Yeah.
It's a little too tiny. I don't know what it's 12 or 10 or something like that. I didn't actually
Not
count.
much.
Yeah.
But that it feels a little low. Like maybe 5 more would have been enough, I think, like something simple like that, but it is what it is. I mean, that's part of the sort of inventory management, I guess.
And the badge system is super in depth too.
It is.
I mean, just like mapping out what badges I'm gonna place on, and that kind of leads into the leveling up system
Yeah.
with like
we should talk about
gaining
that, yeah.
experience. And there is the specific guy that you can go talk to, and he says, "Oh, I could raise a stat. Which stat do you want to raise?"
yeah.
But he doesn't tell you that. He's like, "Oh, you might find," he like right as he leaves, he's like, "You might find one of your other stats maybe changed a little bit too, but I don't know. See you next time." And he
I
just
can't do anything about that. Sorry.
Yeah, the first time I
Sorry.
did that, I was pissed. I was
Yeah,
like,
dude.
I wanted to just even Stevens like balance my character,
Yeah, I
It
don't
really
remember.
threw off my groove.
Threw up my group. Yeah, speaking of, I don't remember what I picked when I went to that guy and gave him my 50 coins or whatever it was. But I should have seen it coming that it would have been, it's too good to be true kind of thing.
Too shady.
Yeah,
It's too shady, literally like
He
in the
looks
shade.
shady.
He looks shady.
He's
and in
literally
the shade.
shady.
His buddy sort of like warns you, about the spell or whatever. And I'm just like, I should have seen that coming. And then I think I either picked the star power I think I picked firepower because at the time I didn't upgrade it yet or something. And I was like, oh, I need that. And then it knocked my health down. I was like, you son of a...
Son of a bitch.
but I'm kind
did
of
it.
swearing at myself, like I should have seen that coming.
I should have
he
known.
got me.
Farted again.
I think the leveling system is actually super refined, and I think like just enough for me to like enjoy it. Because sometimes you
Mhm.
get into RPGs and you're like, dude, there are way too many stats and things for me to worry about in
Yeah.
here. Like the fact that it's pretty
Yes.
streamlined, I actually like a lot. And I do think that the smaller numbers that you also see in this game are pretty helpful and like easy to comprehend. So you're like, okay, cool. I only have 10 HP, and these guys are doing
Hmm.
like 1 damage, or like, Mario needs 100 star points to level up like every single time. Like that is nice to like always have it like in the back of your head. You can like look at it and see. You're like, okay, cool. I kill a few more guys. I'm gonna level up. Boom, 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 boom. Where like in Final Fantasy games, you're always checking your stats panel and you're like, where am I at? And like
Yeah.
XP, like do I need to
Right. Right.
what move? Do I
And
need to like
I'm
just
playing a video game. I don't want to do math.
yeah
Man, what is this? Elmo's number adventure?
yeah
Well, we'll get to that.
I'm
At some
counting
point,
on it.
yeah, we'll get to that. And you know what? It's funny that you mentioned the sort of smaller number thing. Actually, I forgot about that because at first I was like, I'm only doing like 3. Like, what is this? 1 damage.
yeah, one
This is
damage, two
I
damage.
like when I upgrade my health, it only goes up by 5. Like, what the man?
I
This
suck.
game. Well, no, it wasn't. I suck. It was. This game thinks I'm a child, and
Yeah.
in some ways it kind of should, right? But then I sort of got to that about the time of that you would get to the end of the first chapter. I was like, this. You're right. The simplification of it doesn't make it less than. It actually just helps you focus on what you need to focus on. And the simple numbers, the increments of 5 and going up to 100 to level up, that's all you need, and simple enough, right? And they keep it consistent all the way through. It's not like all of a sudden,
Yep.
hey, this guy's doing 45 damage. It's just, and you have no chance. It's always, anywhere between 1 to like 8 or something, like sometimes 10 if you really get smacked hard or something. And that's it. And somehow getting hit by like 4 seems significant.
And you're like, oh, he does a lot of damage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ouch.
I blocked that. How did he do so much damage?
Yeah. I put my hat over my eyes. How did that hurt
Yes,
so much?
exactly. And talking about the blocking and
Yeah,
just
the
that you
timing,
can enhance your
yeah.
attacks, the timing mechanic. I think they brought that back for so many different Mario RPG related games.
Mhm.
Like Partners in Time, I remember that being a huge deal, and you could actually
Yep.
use hammers to like hit attacks back. I
Jump
love that
over
kind of
'em.
stuff. It's
Yeah.
it's a simple thing, but it keeps you more engaged in these RPG like style battles, I feel.
Yep.
Whereas like Pokemon, I could tap A. If I had a strong Pokemon, just tap A. It's like Paper Mario. I can't do that. I gotta be
Right.
strategic. I gotta line things up in the different enemy types with like spike cats and fire types and all stuff. Like it's significant when you go into a battle. You really have to think about what you're doing. Even if you're like way outclassing the enemies at that point, you still could jump on an enemy and do nothing and hurt yourself.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I
yeah.
love that.
And the
think that's
fact
a
that
cool-
everyone's in a line, like in a row, also
Yeah.
matters too, because your hammer, unless you have certain abilities and badges equipped, your hammer's hitting the guy first in line, or one of your partners is only going to hit the first person in line. And sometimes that's not the approach that you need or that you want or whatever.
Right.
And going a little bit back to the badges and stuff a little bit too, I like that the badges not only are abilities, but they can increase your defense or they can increase your attack power. But those abilities aren't just like things that you learn. Like you can equip them and unequip them. And
Yeah.
that
And you have to choose.
and you have to
Yeah.
you have to choose, and maybe you made a mistake going into that because you didn't know what kind of enemy, and that could be a little bit frustrating, but that adds to the complexity of it.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, okay, if you have save states and you're playing it on Switch, maybe you can go back 2 minutes
This
every
bad is
once in a
trash.
while.
That is trash. Yeah.
Yeah, it's totally, that's fine, just go for it if you have to, but I think even if you didn't do that and you didn't have the opportunity to do that, then I still like that adds some depth there that I didn't expect, and almost like
Yeah, dude.
it's almost sneaky because I wasn't really thinking that it was depth until I got further into the game and going, oh, now I really have to think about this. Whereas when I think about it now after completing the game, I go, oh, that was always there though. That was there from the beginning. I just didn't realize it. And that's just smart. That's just smart design. That's just really cool, smart design.
Well, and like even going further with that, the badges, a lot of times when you're exploring like some of the new dungeons or whatever, you'll fight like 1 or 2 enemies and you're like, oh, I can't use a hammer on these, or oh, I can't jump on these guys. I don't know if I have one partner that can maybe damage these people, and I don't really have any attacks that can do anything to these people yet. Then you'll find a badge in that same dungeon that's like, hey, allows you to jump
Yes.
on spiked enemies, or it does this much to people that are hanging from the ceiling. Like you have to kind of like you have to battle a little bit to know the landscape, but then you can like equip as you go through it. You're like, okay, I'm going to take this off and put on these ones that allow me to jump on people and do all kinds of stuff. So like I think,
Yeah.
yeah, like the simplicity starting at the front really benefits, and then like as you move through it, it teaches you and gives you the advanced, I guess, badge matchmaking that you want if you want to really go into the meta, which I do. I like to like figure out the most optimal build. So I was doing like so much damage per turn with like all like the all or nothing badges, and like I was kind of playing it risky, like all FP, low health, and just like freaking waxing all the enemies.
Okay,
Like just
interesting.
taking them out in like 3 or 4 turns, and I'm like, hell yeah.
That's an interesting build, because I would never do that. I went in and I was like FP recovery, heart recovery. I was like resistance to spike, like anything that could give me basically where I could go into battle and attack anyone with my jump attack, and then I would use the I think it's called the power bounce, not multi bounce. Multi bounce goes across enemies. I did power bounce, so I could just nail
Boom,
the
boom,
same
boom.
opponent
Same.
as long as I got the timing down. I could just keep going. So that was my high risk, high reward, because it was like I could use some of my FP, but it could pay off, and I could get. And oftentimes I would get like 2 jumps, and then I'd miss the timing and be like, oh,
No. Yeah,
gosh
glass
dang
cannon.
it!
Yeah,
And I'm the glass cannon all the way.
that's interesting. Usually I am with RPGs, or you say glass cannon, I immediately think Diablo. Like that's the kind of and I like playing like a wizard. Like I love that kind of stuff, right? But in this, I find it hard in RPGs like this or similar type of games like this, where it's like I always want to be balanced. Like I never want to run out of my firepower for this, or my mana, or something like that. I always want to make sure that the next fight I get into, even if I know I'm going to win this one, I'm not at 0, because I don't know what's coming in the next one. So I always had, I was like 30 across the board, or 25 across, or 40 across. Like I always tried to be only off. I think the most I had any stat off from each other was maybe 10. Which you could definitely go further than that based on badges, based on level up upgrades, all those types of things. But like, I think 10 was the furthest I was ever away. And then I just felt like, oh no, I'm doing something wrong. I'm not going to be prepared for whatever comes next. Yeah, I can't jump, or the hammer's not going to work. Oh no, I only have 2 health. What am I going to do? And I always, it's funny because I usually got the timing down with the jumps whenever that was, but I think they do a really good job too of varying the type of attacks, because to block them, you almost have to get hit or like miss a block as Mario once to understand what that attack is going to be the next time they hit you. And I think that's great too, because it's not always here's a jump, here's a shy guy stealing something, here's a hit with something, or here's something that makes you unconscious or whatever. It's always a little bit, the timing is never exactly the same. And very, it's always off by just a bit. And I like that. You have to pay attention. You can't just, like you said, Jig, you can't just A or B and just expect to block or an attack. Like there's always a different type of interaction with it, regardless of which way the battle's going in that particular turn. And it seems so simple on the surface, just like everything else we were just talking about, but it somehow just keeps you engaged in an extra way, even if they're like not that powerful and you're going to get through that fight in a breeze. You want to get that I don't want to lose 2 health here. I want to lose 0. Like,
yep.
And if I lose 2, I feel like I failed that fight.
Kill them all in one hit.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that I don't know. I just had a really good time with this game. I thought it was great. It was much longer than I thought it was going to be. I honestly thought that, like, pretty much based on the amount of time I spent on the game, and I did a lot of like the letters back and forth and stuff, but pretty much by the time I was done with the toy box, I was like, oh, that's probably the second last or last chapter. And then there were still a couple more. And then there's all the Peach stuff in between. I was like, holy shit, this game keeps going. This is great. Like, I was genuinely surprised.
It's like a 20, 30 hour game maybe, right? Something like that.
I wish I could track it.
It's substantial.
Yeah, I wish I could track it on Switch because now it just tells you like how much time you spent in that particular app, as opposed to the particular game. But I'm gonna look it up now actually just to see. But yeah,
Did you guys hit the dojo at all?
a little bit, not as much as I wanted
yeah,
to.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a fun little side boss. I didn't do all the side missions in this one, but the dojo I feel like is always worth it, just because you can kind of test your metal. But again, back to just really quickly about the glass cannon comment. I only run that once I'm familiar with the game, because like
Right.
Oh,
when
sure.
I'm playing Sea of Stars right now, which actually has inherited a lot of Paper Mario's like essence with like the
Yeah.
timed attacks.
I
And
hear
that
that's
kind of stuff.
excellent, that game. Yeah.
So good. But I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm getting into. So I'm doing like the kind of all equal stat approach where I'm just like,
Right.
I'm kind of low on defense here. I'm kind of low on mana here. I'm just gonna kind of bump these all up as I go along, and that seems to be working fine for me too. So
Nice.
yeah,
Yeah. No,
depends
that
on
that
the
makes
player
sense
group.
because you want to. The risk reward is almost too risky if you just go in
Mhm.
face first and have 5 HP for 10 fights.
Yes,
Mhm.
It's just too
it's
much.
the
Yeah.
worst.
So How Long to Beat at least has an estimated main story with no extras 23 hours. So 20 to 24
Yeah,
probably
20
is
to
what.
30, yeah.
Yep. And then it says
range.
completionist, which would be everything, all the side stuff, dojo, mail, all that stuff, 33 and a half hours. So that, yeah, 20 to
Nice.
30, like you said. So
Perfect. That's perfect.
yeah, it is actually a really good, it's fine. I'll play games for 60 hours, but this felt right. This felt like the right amount of time, felt the right kind of, it fits. It could be maybe a little shorter, but I don't think that's a big deal, even if it was. And you look at the other Paper Marios, they're all around the same. The Thousand Year Door is closer to 30 to 40 hours, so that's definitely the longest out of all
It's
of
the
these.
sequel. It's bigger, it's better, right?
Yeah, and then Super Paper Mario is around 20 to 25. Paper Jam, the Mario and Luigi one, is closer to 30. So it's still pretty good. They have a good amount of time in this, but this timing felt right, and it felt right to play it on the Switch. I played it completely handheld. I don't know about you guys, but I played it completely handheld because it was just easy to pick up and play. Although because I just didn't have my dock set up, and I was just like, I'm lazy. I'm just going to stay on the couch instead of going to set it up. Although this game would look really good on a big screen because of, like we've said, I think it pops. The colors, the
Holds up.
style. Yeah, it 100% holds up.
Does hold up. Really
Which you
well.
cannot, yeah, really, really well. You can definitely not say that about a lot of N64 and PS1 era games. So
Nope.
It's actually one of those N64 games that you play and you're like, wow, this looks really good. Like I said that out loud.
Yeah.
I don't say that about any N64 game.
Mhm.
It's very stylized. It looks very good. And
2D, 3D kind of just
yeah.
works. Even if like the 3D elements in the game are like very jagged, and it almost looks like it's a paper, cardboard construction project that just is supposed to look like that. So you're like, yeah, this makes sense. It's a
Yeah,
paper
it
world.
fits.
So
it totally
This is
makes
great.
sense. Yeah, and even like the little design choices when you go in and out of a building. It's sort of the camera kind of pans, and
folds open.
things kind of fold open. I was like, oh my god, this is where they got the Yoshi and
good.
Kirby ideas from, and stuff. Like this is sort of where it sort of originated. And I love those games too. They're full of charm and personality and everything. So yeah, I think overall, Jake, thanks for picking this game, man.
Dude, I'm
It's
so glad.
awesome.
I cannot believe you've gone this long without playing it. Like, Paper Mario really is, I think, one of the best games on the 64 because of everything we just talked about.
Yeah.
But even further than that, like in terms of just an RPG, it makes me sad to hear you mention the other Paper Mario games outside of Thousand Year Door, because after that they completely abandoned this type of
The
gameplay.
battle system.
Oh,
So you
really?
go to
Interesting.
Super Paper Mario is basically just an action platformer. There's no there's like some RPG mechanics in there, but it's very bare bones. There's no like turn-based stuff like that. And then like it gets further and further away as you go on. Origami King on Switch I thought was a lovely game, but again, it's not a turn-based, traditional Paper Mario game like these.
See this, yeah, okay. So that's really good to know because I think it was probably around the time that they announced the Paper Mario thing on the Direct that Origami King was
so excited
$20
about the
off or
Thousand Year
something like
Door.
that. Yeah,
Origami King, yeah.
but I was gonna pick up Origami King, but thinking it was going to be an extension of what I was currently playing, and knowing that it's not, I'm going to go to the Thousand Year Door route instead. So that's good to know. Interesting.
Yeah, if you want that RPG experience, I'm so pumped about that. But Origami King, I don't want to discredit it. I think it's actually really charming. It's just as charming. The writing is just as clever, and it's beautiful. It's beautiful. Like,
it looks really nice.
The art style they applied in there is just impressive, and like the vistas you get are just really, really really well thought out.
Right.
It's just not a RPG.
Right, right. Not to this extent. Yeah. Well, you know what? This was great. Jiggy, I assuming you're on the same page. It's nice to revisit the game.
No, I hated it. No, I'm just kidding.
Literally light it on fire. Light the paper on fire.
It's great. It's great. I'd like to give games a score. I would probably give it a 9.5 out of 10.
Ooh, hot damn. Jake,
I would say I would give it. I get that 0.5 because you can always do something better.
Yeah. I think like at the time when it came out, like if we were not comparing it to anything that's come out since, like this game probably blew people out of the water. And so in that respect, I think it's a perfect game. I don't really think there's anything wrong with this. Like there are some moments that drag, but everything seems to be intentionally designed in a way that fits into the Paper Mario ethos of like the characters and the battle system. So like I think this is a perfect game. I think anybody that wants to play it can still play it completely and have like a great experience no matter when they play it. If it's like their first time jumping in like you did, I think it gives you that great experience without too much bloat. So I think it's perfect for that.
Yeah, I agree. I can't say it much better than you guys did. I think this is as close to a perfect Mario experience as you can get, and it's a different one, which is always nice, right? I love 2D platforming Mario games. Those are my favorites. The 3Ds are great, but it's just the nostalgia hits me more. And if you're gonna do something different, I like that this is the kind of different that they came up with.
Yeah.
And I do think that it's ballsy to make this right after Mario 64. I think it honestly gets some points just for that. That this was the follow-up. They went from something that is completely 3D to something as flat as it could possibly be in a way.
And 3D.
It is kind of 3D, yeah. But
that's probably a big part of why they went the paper route in the first place, because they really had to differentiate it from Mario 64. I mean, you can't go for like, what do you do? And I think it's a very clever, like whoever came up with that decision, like, let's go paper. Like, what does that mean? I'll show you. Like,
oh, don't you worry.
I would have never thought about that. It's such a weird concept, but it's awesome.
It is awesome. It's an awesome game. It's as close to perfect as you can get. I agree. And it was a really good time to play it. So Jake, thanks for coming on the show, and thanks for bringing this game with you.
Dude, absolutely. Thank you for having me. This was so fun. I love it.
One last time, where can everyone find your awesome stuff?
Yeah, you can just find me on the internet at make_Jarton or make Jarton. And you can just check it out, or it's just a Bitblog. It's BITBLOGGIST.
Amazing. Awesome. Jakey, thanks for coming back, man. This is fun.
Happy to be here.
Let's hope the next one is just as good, although I feel like that's probably not going to be the case. I think this might be now one of the highest bars we've set. It's that good. So on to the next one, everyone. Thanks for joining us, everyone. Appreciate it.